Alrighty guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Good to have you here. My name is Ben, and this is Real Life Ed. Classes in session. Having some tea this morning. I've kind of mitigated my coffee a lot. Sometimes later in the day seems fine, but in the mornings, coffee feels like it just makes me anxious, and it's that love-hate relationship. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. It feels like you want it, but then you don't feel that good on it. It feels kind of like smoking almost sometimes. It's like this bad habit, but then I like coffee. So anyways, it's back and forth. But I wanted to talk about something today that I think is just a big insight if you're trying to improve yourself, if you're trying to get better. A lot of people come to the carnivore diet to improve themselves in some way, which is awesome. And over time, they do improve themselves, and then they start making other changes that kind of compound, and their life really gets better in significant ways. And there's all kinds of great success stories out there about that, and I've definitely felt that to be the case in my life. But one thing that was kind of staring me in the face for a long time that I kind of knew, but also kind of didn't realize when kind of looking at an overall just sort of mental health or life issue or life experience, kind of in terms of how you're feeling about life, how you're feeling about where you're at or what you're doing, is it's not really diet related at all. And it's also so obvious that I think it gets left unnoticed sometimes, and that is what you do for work, what you do for a job. It's really neat to see a lot of people who get into this sort of health space. They get passionate, and then they want to do that with their lives. That's really awesome. They do coaching, or they do content, or they do something like that. Maybe they go back to school, although I wouldn't recommend that because schools are kind of outdated. But they want to center their life around something that's meaningful to them. And if something makes a positive change in your life, then it becomes meaningful to you. So that's awesome. And there's all kinds of great sort of people who've had these success stories. Things start changing in their life, and then they start building their life around that thing that made those changes. So that's really cool. And they often realize that they kind of hate their normal job. Not always, but a lot of people kind of start to realize when they feel kind of more alive, they feel better, or they're kind of like brave enough, or they have enough peace of mind or enough clarity or enough energy to start thinking that they start realizing on a day-to-day basis that what the thing they're doing is kind of bringing them down. It's kind of draining them. And that's huge. That's not to be underestimated in terms of how you feel about your life, how positive you are about your future, or anything like that. It's just such a big chunk of your life, whether you work at an office, a construction site, or whatever it might be. Even if it's not something you hate, if it's kind of mediocre, that can really influence your approach to life. There's a quote that's something like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I think it can be helpful. I think it's also, there's some nuance there for sure. But bringing this back to some of my experience was that I started toying around with trying to figure out what I wanted to do for work. I mean, a few years ago, I used to never really know what I wanted to do when I was a kid, other than make movies. I've always kind of wanted to make movies, and now at least I'm doing these YouTube videos, but I like editing and stuff like that. I just never really sit down and do it. But anyways, I digress. Figuring out kind of what I wanted to do, because I noticed how big of a difference it made when I'm working on a project that I'm excited about, or if I'm doing something that has some meaning to it. It is one of the most powerful shifts for my mood, for how I feel, even for how like I feel about, for how I feel about myself, for how I feel about others, for how I even start like treating other people. My outlook on life is just so different if I'm working on something that is at least a little bit meaningful, or it's an independent project or my own business. So that has led to a few years now like probably the last 6 years of just doing different things, trying to figure out what things kind of I can use my talents for, what kind of things can help me stay in that space of being kind of curious, excited, at least at some level. Work's always going to be work. I mean, we're fallen people. This world is not, where we're going to be totally happy, but it's a huge mindset shift. And what I have noticed myself, I just noticed it the other day, is that it can make this huge difference, just what you're working on. And when you combine that with a foundation of kind of health and nutrition and energy, that is this huge piece that is just gonna get you fired up about your life and can help move you into this spot where you're less so waiting on feeling better. One thing I notice a lot in questions that I get about a nutritional intervention like carnivore or keto for mental health and depression is, when did you start feeling better? When did it kind of change? And I totally get that, because you want these changes to happen, and they do happen, but they happen slowly. But sometimes the big changes are when you can just totally shift what you're doing in your life to something different, to something that you enjoy, something that you're excited about, something that you really care about, and that really matters. With that being said, I have not figured this out, and I've messed up in a lot of ways. I got really into this kind of online business thing, which is great and cool, and there's so much opportunity. I've done writing, I've sold some stuff online, and I was all excited about that. And then I've kind of done more physical brick and mortar type stuff too. I do my own. I have my own little business right now that is, I've mentioned before, I make tiki bars and cabanas and decks and that kind of thing. And what I started to notice more recently was how much better I am when I'm not just sitting on a laptop trying to get something done. Unless it's for a short period of time where it's a specific task, trying to kind of build my life around this kind of laptop lifestyle of online projects that I'm a little more distant from, whether that be like freelancing or something like that, where it's not directly a project. It's not a project that I'm clearly connected to in some way. That just was draining, and it started to feel like I thought it was what I was supposed to do and what I was excited about. But what I started to notice was when I was out in the field, so to speak, building things, physically moving, physically getting things done, going out, talking to people, meeting people, that my body just started to sense I felt better doing that. And that's, I guess what I'm getting at is being busy in a good way, and in kind of a holistic way, interacting with people, going places, physically moving, physically working. It doesn't mean you need a manual labor job, but you need to be busy, you need to be connected, and you need to have a sense of filling in a role in society almost. And don't take that the wrong way, because I don't like the idea of being a cog in the wheel of society. What I mean is being like a constructive member of community. One of my favorite comedians and favorite people out there is Tim Dillon, and you got to check out his stuff. He's absolutely awesome. But he has this awesome video. You can look it up. It's called The Big Lie, Tim Dillon. And the big lie is that there's this sort of, you can really attain happiness. You can be happy, and people want to be happy, and all you need is the 7-step process, or the right course, or the implementation. And it's this really profound reflection on what we're kind of told sometimes, which is, it's inside of you, the idea, whatever it is, the big dream is inside of you. You just need the implementation. You just need to stop being lazy. You just need to follow the right path, the right steps, and you can have everything you always wanted. And I'm a kind of like a dreamer, a romantic. So I really fall for that stuff. And I think it's actually kind of true. I do think you can build I think your ideas are very important. I think steps and implementation and structure is important. But what he kind of says is that people have a hard time saying what that happiness is. And he's like, what I've observed is that people are happiest when they're in a community and they're kind of preparing for some event together. And I think that was a really wise and true thing to say. And so coming back to what I was saying before about being a member of the community, is that you need to be in a community, and you need to be working towards something at some level with other people, because that is where we're happiest. That is where we kind of lose our self-consciousness, or our kind of our bad sort of self-preoccupation. That's where we can start being ourselves with other people doing real things. And that can be the final piece for finding peace in your life, and finding excitement, and then finding just daily joy in those small things, and trusting that. So hopefully this is helpful. If it's something that you don't know, you're trying to heal, you're trying to get better, and you can't put your finger on it, you don't know what's kind of going on, and your diet's on point, and like you're doing all the right things, maybe you're exercising, you're structured, maybe that big piece of your life is kind of what you're doing. Like, is your work at all meaningful to you? Are you all excited about it? Are you at all excited about it? Are you feeling fulfilled in that? Are you working alongside other people? And if not, then that's a huge thing to start looking at, start exploring, and it can make all the difference in the world. It can change your life. So hopefully that was helpful. And it's been helpful for me. So thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys. And let me know in the comments what you think about this, or how much your job has affected your mental health or your sort of life experience. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Go get some tea, and I'll talk to you later.